BlogTalk Radio.
Emanating from the embrace of the goddess and her god is a wheel of shimmering divine energies. This is the sacred spot where worship is done. The center of this wheel is right where you are. Live here and let your heart stream with an unending flow of adoration. In this way do we tend the altar of love. Hello everyone, this is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. And I would also like to introduce my lovely, beautiful co-host, the Queen of Questionable Comforts, the Celtic Queen of Questionable Comforts, Her Holiness Sri 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 Amelia Santara. Hello, Amelia.
Hello, Chrism. Oh my goodness, this is getting worse every week.
Sri, Sri,
Sri.
So, how is everything in the country of Ireland?
Everything is wonderful here currently. We're having a lovely weather cycle at the moment. Autumn is coming in very slowly and gracefully. It's a wonderful time of the year here. And as everybody knows, it's coming up to midnight here, gone 11 p.m. It's good to be with you, Chrism, and with all the listeners, as usual on a Wednesday. So just to say to everybody, welcome to everybody that is joining us in the chat room and indeed that is listening in the archives to this conversation. I'd like to begin by just saying, if you wish to support Chrism, if you wish to support the Kundalini Awakening Systems groups that Chrism gives his teachings to and through, then please go to www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and in the upper right-hand corner you will see a donate button. All donations are gratefully received, and they help to support Chrism in this wonderful work that he does 24/7, supporting all of us, supporting people that are looking for information about Kundalini, about the process that they are going through. And again, if you can't remember the website, then just go to Google and Google Ascension Kundalini. Well, maybe Ascension Kundalini Blogspot. So it's www.ascension-kundaliniblogspot.com. So that's it, Chrism. I'm really looking forward to the show and to the topic for this week.
I would like to also, while you're still on, Ms. Santara, it looks like I'm getting that echo from your end again, so I'm going to go ahead and put you in the blue. I would like to apologize to everybody for last week's show. It was an accident. We basically what we were doing is we were trying to plan the shows going on up to the end of the year, and forgot to increase the time from the basic time, which is 15 minutes, to over 2 hours, and so that has been corrected. And I think we're good to go this time. So, I'd like to say once again, apologies for last week. And we will continue the subject that was going to be talked about last week today. And this subject has to do with some of the teachings of good and evil. What are the concepts of good and evil within a Kundalini context? And so we'll be continuing that. I would, as Amelia also suggested, I would like to welcome the people who are listening in the chat room right now. I see Starloon, I see Lorne White, and I see a couple of names with numbers after them. I would like to welcome the people who are listening to this broadcast in the archives. This would include Many of the people from Europe, where, if you're in France or Norway or Spain or any of those, it's 12 o'clock midnight there. And so I understand that you'd be listening to this in the archives, and I want to welcome you to this show as well. I'd also like to welcome those who are listening to this in their sleep. And I'll be offering a special prayer during the program to help a person with any levels of blockage that they may be encountering in receiving Kundalini information-based dream teachings. So we'll be covering that in the show as well. I would like to welcome one of our ambassadors to the Minnesota area, Rosemary Goliath, and I'm going to bring her on board. And hello, Rosemary, how are you?
I am just fine, Chrism. Happy Wednesday to you.
And a happy Wednesday back to you, my dear. Do you have any announcements you'd like to let us know about?
Yes, we have our seminar here in Minnesota, September 27th and 28th. And there on Facebook are several places where you can access that information, the events and seminars with Chrism. And my email address is rosemaryg@usinternet.com. And I'd love to talk with you. I was going through emails that I have received in the past today to send them reminders as well of the information. So thank you for the opportunity.
Are you like doing aerobics now while we're talking with you?
No, but I'm walking, and I just am getting off the highway here.
You're walking off the highway? That's kind of a weird thing, Rosemary. Are you okay?
I am.
Are you hitchhiking?
No, it's a good idea. I'm not that far from home, though. That's why I'm walking.
Good for you. I'm just kidding you. Okay, all right. I thank you for those announcements, and I'm gonna put our other ambassador on. And Ambassador Eileen, how are you?
I'm fine, Chrism.
Do you have any announcements that you would like to make?
No, Rosemary covered it. I'm looking forward to visiting with you and attending the talks that you're going to be giving around the Twin Cities area and the seminar, and I look forward to meeting the participants.
Well, and the gift is their meeting with you as well. All right. Good to hear from you, Ambassador Eileen, and putting you in the blue.
Thanks.
And I have a very special guest, everybody, that I would like to introduce to you. She is the provider of our Radiance Sutras. She is a healthcare professional in an undisclosed position because, healthcare doesn't exactly recognize Kundalini. She is a wonderful, 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 graced person. She has active Kundalini. She's had active Kundalini for about a year and a half, 2 years now? About a year and a half, so she's kind of a rugrat at the moment, but she's getting there. And I'd like to introduce everybody to Josephine Smith. Hello, Josephine.
Hello, everybody.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm here at the ashram learning many things.
What kind of things?
Patience, for one. Tolerance.
Patience, tolerance, all the good qualities. Okay, very good, very good, very good. So welcome, Josephine, to the show. And just so people know, and I want to say hello to Julie and Fashji and everybody that's coming on. I see you guys are just like waiting until the announcements are done, and then you come in. I get it. I see how it works here. So Josephine is, as she said, she's here at the ashram, and we're not doing a lot of traveling, and so it's kind of nice just to be able to do, our meditations and our ablutions towards the Kunalini here at the ashram, and she is indeed learning many of the positive and wisdom-based policies that the Kunalini will kind of institute within a person. So once again, I'd like to welcome Josephine Smith, and we will continue with the program. as I mentioned earlier, the program is about the nature of good and evil within a Kundalini context, and I'm gonna go through a communication that the Kundalini wrote regarding the nature of good and evil. And one of the main reasons we are even here is to develop and evolve, amidst the stressing of our humanity through the dark qualities and into the goodness that we strive to be, whether it's through pleasure or pain or anywhere in between those expressions. And as we experience the levels of challenge that like say evil comprises, well, there are many supports for some of the negative qualities to be expressed in this paradigm. And these supports are often the form of entities, which is a spiritual-based consciousness that does not have a corporeal or a physical body, does not have a physical body at all, and yet it does have influence with other forms of consciousness, whether in a body or not. And so these entities are basically all over the place. And, many of them, if not most of them, are not kind. They do not have your best interests at heart. Much closer to the fact of their existence with you is the Kundalini will allow them to test your morals and your ethics within the awakening understanding. But before I go too far into this, we're coming up onto our 15-minute, hopefully it'll go beyond 15 minutes this time. So I'd like to do a little sound check if Julie or Fast G, Lauren, if you could write whether the sound is coming through okay, I would appreciate that little sound check. In the meantime, I will continue to broadcast about this. So, and I can see everybody typing on the so thank you. Let's see. Oh, it's good. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good. Well, then I will continue. Hopefully I will continue. We'll see what happens. Okay, and so getting back to the good and the evil. Now, these entities are all over the place. The Kundalini will allow these entities to interact with you in order to test your willingness to follow the noble qualities. Say the noble qualities would be that of forgiveness, of wisdom, of honesty, of truth, of love, compassion, tolerance, patience. Qualities that resonate along those lines are what I'm referring to as the noble qualities. And so these entities, they'll basically come into you and say, oh, geez, you could steal that package of gum. And if you steal that package of gum, that gives you enough time or enough money left to buy a ticket on that bus. And so just go ahead and steal the gum, and then you can get on the bus. And and so you'll be. It's kind of like that what's sort of that understanding of you have the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, right? And the devil's going to tell you to do all the bad things. The angel's going to tell you to do all the good things. Well, in a very strong way, that is the equation in the early awakening and mid-level awakening of the Kundalini within a person, except that you get to hear them in real time. You get to understand them in real time. And so the devil will be, that entity that is pushing you towards being unethical and without morals will guide you to do these other things, whereas your previous guidance that you've been given as you began to awaken your Kundalini, the morals that you've been taught since you were a kid, you don't steal, you don't hurt, you don't hit, you don't lie to people. These are the levels of testing that the Kunalini will allow those entities to inflict upon you. Okay, so for the most part, if they're a negative entity, I will suggest that you make no conversation with them. Okay, do not engage them in any conversation. The good entities, or the angels, shall we say, that are on the other shoulder, they won't inflict themselves into your space. They will not push themselves into your awareness against your will. If they see you going in a very, very, shall we say, difficult direction, say you're falling off of the ethical track or the moral track, well, then they may come into your space and try to correct you. But for the most part, if you decide to participate in some of these more questionable activities or ethics, then you will be allowed to suffer those consequences. Okay, that just is an indication that there's more refinement to be done in that person, and so they will be allowed to inflict that and to hold that shame within themselves until another moment comes where they can either move forward through that or continue in another direction. These entities, these angels and devils, they're all over the place, and they're watching and they're guiding those who are open to the guidance. They're also with those who, through karmic means, must suffer, even though they have goodness at their core. Most of us have goodness at our core. Most of us only choose to lose our ethical guidelines based upon our present-day circumstances. If you're starving to death, or you're thirsting to death, well, your ethical morality is going to take a strong hit. If somebody says, "Yeah, hit that guy over there, and I'll give you a drink of water or a bite to eat," okay, now you won't always get that kind of a test, but I'll tell you what, they're getting that kind of a test in the Ukraine right now. Ukrainian people are inside that war with Russia, and they're being put to the test. They're being laid out upon an anvil of war, and just lately, and I'm not there, so I'm only reporting what multiple press outlets or news source outlets have been relating. The Russians gave the Ukrainian soldiers an opportunity to safely leave a place where they had been confined, and this was given from the Russian authorities as well, an order. But instead of allowing them to leave peacefully, as the Ukrainians were leaving the field of battle waving a white flag, and they were following the route that the Russians had decided for them to follow, they were mowed down with machine gun fire. This is really where, you can see the levels of ethics that do not exist within a war zone. And for those of you who are listening in Europe, for those of you who are listening in areas that may come under attack through Russian expansionism, just remember the words of wisdom that I related on the video called Severe Refinement Zones, which took place in Mostar, Bosnia, Herzegovina. The lady, basically, she lived through one of the worst and the hottest war zones in the Balkan conflict. And she basically said, those who stay are stupid. Those who leave are smart. So if you find yourself coming into a war zone, whether or not you agree with it or disagree, whatever it is, if you're a Kundalini person, get out. You can always come back if you must, but get out, save your body, save your mind, save yourself so that you can live another day and help to correct, say, an unjust situation at another time. You don't need to pick up that rifle. Unless your Kundalini tells you, yeah, you better pick up that rifle. Kundalini is not a victim, but neither is it stupidly putting its head in the tiger's mouth, or because it is the tiger. It'd be kind of like, never mind. So when you're in these hot zones of ethical corruption, you're really put to the test. And, I hope, well, I know all of you will be put into that kind of a hot zone in one way or another, as we continue within this new millennium. So just be very, very, very cogent and aware of where your ethics are, where your moralities are. Remember that you can always just walk away. You can always, you may have to leave your house, you may have to leave your things, you may have to leave your car, but that's not worth 1 pint of blood from your body being spilled on the ground because somebody else wants your land. See what I'm saying? Okay. So, within these war zones, the demons and the angels are both there, but which one is listened to more? And, the demonic, has a very, very strong voice when we're dealing in these areas. And, these entities, they're placed throughout the many world societies, and they contribute to our refinement through stress. We must be stressed, just like the plants. When you want to get a certain chemical from a plant, like say superoxide dismutase, which is a great free radical scavenger that you can buy at a health food store in the States until this stupid Codex thing tries to infiltrate the States again. Right now, you can go out and you can buy superoxide dismutase, which in some instances is gleaned from stressing wheat plants by depriving them of light and making them grow longer and faster through deprivation. They develop more of a substance that we like to use, is superoxide dismutase, which scavenges free radicals from our cells and allows our cells to live longer and happier life. So just as those plants are given that stress to make that kind of a gift to us, so are we given stress to make that kind of a gift to the divine within us, to the Kundalini within us. This is that level of stress given to us. And in some cases, we won't have a choice, just like those wheat plants. Those little wheat plants didn't get a choice. Okay, they were basically kind of pushed into that whole situation, as we come into a war zone, as we're tempted to fall into immoral activities through the many various invitations towards that we have in our society. And so this is all over the place. This isn't just in a war zone, but our task is to know and understand and do the goodness works anyway. Even though, there are forces arranged that would try to stop us or to thwart our evolution in, towards the areas of grace and love, certainly within a Kundalini context. This is as it is here on this world. And it really, once you understand it, you can glean the teachings in a much clearer way. So when you feel yourself, you go into a store and, a thought enters you, steal that, whatever it is. You just know, oh, okay, yeah, so I guess I'm paying for everything here. And pretty soon you won't even get those kind of messages anymore because it's known that you already have a very clear commitment towards not being a thief, okay, or not being a rapist, or not being somebody that is taking advantage of whatever ethical outline that is being offered to you at the time. So our task is to know that and to understand that and to do the goodness anyway, even though there are forces arranged that would try to stop us or to get in our way of that. Now, when we know the cause and effect, as I just said, we can change that effect by changing the flow of our own choices, even as the situation we're in pressures us to do otherwise. We can now, because of our information, because of our knowledge given through the Kundalini, we can now, through the Kundalini, which is giving us the impetus to do, we can recognize the demon or the devil that is giving us the suggestion to do harm or to change the game and, change the game of our moral, upright, within our own societies, understanding what morals are. we can keep that. We can ignore the impetus to do harm, and we can keep our ethics intact. We can keep our ethics intact, especially as we are guided to do something wrong or something harmful. We can instead turn that into a kindness, and so that every harmful guidance is changed into a kindness in the real world and inside your head. That's very, very, very important to do. That also deals with the process of self-correction. You constantly self-correct yourself towards high ethical and moral guidelines within the Kundalini constantly. Now, the people around you, they may fall into sin, as some people say. They may fall into sin. They may decide to make that choice to fall into something that is hurtful and harmful to others, and they may try to devalue your gift to the world through your high moral expressions. They may try to devalue that. They may try to hurt you or slam your stab you in the back to other people and things of that nature. Really try to impugn your gifts into society, and you just need to forgive them. Constantly forgive them. It is not your task to seek revenge or to pull yourself down to their level, even though that is the invitation that's being given. So when you know the cause and effect, you can change that by making different choices. And as you make those different choices, you begin to short-circuit some of the more challenging anti-ethical communications that entities may be giving you. Okay, it's a struggle. And there is injustice all over the place. You can see it, and people are responding. They're responding to the invitation to be unethical. They're responding to hurt other people and to try to gain access to the power of having a lot of money or having a lot of property or having a lot of physical attachment. And they're willing to do that. And we all know that they're out there. We all know, that they're there, and we all have had some sort of a interaction with them throughout our lives. And so we know who we're talking about here. Okay, we only need to look at, say, the president of Russia, coming into Ukraine that way, and the response of the European leadership, the United States leadership in response to, thousands of people being just slaughtered. What's going on with that, and all of the different balances that must be maintained in order to stop the world from sliding into, a World War III scenario. We know about those, but we also know about those closer to us, those who play poker every night when they should be listening to Kundalini. Did I say that? Just kidding. A little reference there. No, those who are playing poker and are cheating, not anyone that we know of, but there are people out there that try to do that, and there are people out there that will just take a gun and go into a convenience store and try to rob people. I mean, this is happening every day in the States, never in Ireland. It never happens in Ireland, but it happens all the time in the United States. And, within that understanding, we know that there are large populations of people that are willing, because of their situation or because of their desire for comfort, their desire for power, their maybe a greed-based desire for advancement, they will respond positively to these negative entities and what they're suggesting. And, these folks cause us to have to strengthen our moral and our ethical values. And so this is part of the nature of good and evil within the Kundalini. Kundalini will let you have those tests. If you pass the test, well, then you won't have to be tested that way anymore. If you don't pass those tests, then you will continuously be tested that way. And so, you have to understand that there must be negatives in order for positivity to exist, and vice versa. And within our refinement stages, we learn about hatred and kindness, love, fear, happiness, sadness. We learn to discern that which is striving to harm ourselves or others, or that which is striving towards kindness no matter what. We evolve our ways through these equations, choosing to engage the negative or choosing to engage the positive as our own inner consciousness and value systems require. So we're making the choice, folks. And in a Kundalini context, you're going to keep being given the opportunity to make the right choice. And once that right choice becomes second nature to you, or even, dare I say it, first nature to you, then you'll stop being tested in those areas. It's pointless. Divinity is what has set up this program that we're in. Okay, divinity, aka also known as Kundalini. Kunalini knows that what we're going through and why we're going through it. Therefore, it's reasonable to suggest that the Kundalini knows our karma, which is something that we do not know. Okay, Kundalini knows our karma, and by knowing our karma, it can see and it can measure whether we're making progress or whether we're falling behind. It can initiate certain tests or protocols into our equation that allow us to learn in a different way or in a better way. But either way, the Kundalini knows what we're going through and why. And, even though we don't. So regardless of whether or not we know why we do a certain thing or why it is best to strive for kindness, the divine within us is watching and waiting and giving us hints and serving us in ways that enlightens our restricted interpretation of life and allows for us to internalize and discern our changing values. Our changing values basically indicate the Kundalini, the new levels of valuation that is coming from our Kundalini awakening equation. Okay? And I would like to bring Josephine into this conversation. And Josephine, how have you experienced, say, Kundalini testing within your life experience in the short time that you've had it?
Well, I had a dream this was just recent, and I don't have visual dreams, but I'm starting to have a few, and this was a real tall guy, normally dressed and walking down the sidewalk. He had his arms open, and he looked at me and he said, "I'm mad at you." And all I did was just turn around and I left. So that's not something I've ever had before. It was kind of scary in a way, and I just walked away from it, and that was good.
I agree. That's a good example of an entity coming into a dream teaching, and on the one hand, opening his arms, and then as you begin to respond to that embrace, it says to you, "I'm really mad at you." That changes the equation, and I feel personally what you did, Josephine, was the exact thing that you should do. Don't say a word. You just turn around, walk the other way. Walk the other way. That was a lie based in an embrace. Okay, the embrace is something that is indicative of love and acceptance and happiness and wanting to exchange love with a person, where in fact this was more of an invitation towards accepting a lie. Kundalini is never really angry at you. It understands your refinement process. It understands what you're going through. It doesn't really have the kind of a emotional expression that we come to recognize within our emotional body. It is in a more absolute nature. Did Josephine do this that would accelerate her refinement and her evolution, or did she do something else that would turn it in a different direction? Well, she made a choice that would accelerate her refinement and her evolution. And so, yeah, she didn't have to repeat that test, and she hasn't yet, as far as, she's told me. And so this is really good. This is really good. And as the divine who has set up this program is watching and helping us broaden our horizon, we also need to understand that it takes time and effort and repetition to really begin to understand what these dynamics are about. And these dynamics, literally, because the karma is different for each person, the dynamics of their Kundalini awakening equation are also different. And so this takes time. And there are some signposts that are similar, though. This is why we can get together and we can talk about this, because there are many, many, many similarities within a person's Kundalini equation that will harmonize with what other people have felt. And so, we come to life with different forms of karma, and so therefore, this changes the dynamic of our karma. And, this also changes the dynamic of the different gifts of grace that within these differences we're given. And, they're either blessings or they're challenges. And, the blessings we accept and the challenges we accept too, and we strive to overcome those challenges. So it's no surprise that there are people who have reached levels of serenity and enlightenment and are not worried about such things as the mundane populations are worried about, because they've already been through the tests. They've already been through it. And even if they were shoved back into the test, they would pass them with flying colors because they've already been through it. They already know the answer. They know what to do. And in this process right here, what we're discussing is we're giving you an understanding. You're being given an understanding. From the Kundalini through me, you are being given an understanding of what you need to do in order to give yourself that evolutionary boost, to give yourself the knowledge and the information that allows you to make the appropriate choices when under stress. Okay? Always flow with your ethical values when you are being stressed. Take a moment, take a breath, take a step back from the situation. Understand what is happening to you. If you have Kundalini awakened already, well, then your Kundalini knows what's going on. You know it. And you make the appropriate choice within the practice of the safeties, which again, deals with the noble qualities: forgiveness, tolerance, patience, love, compassion, truth, honesty. All of these things, you need to begin to factor in. And as you do that, as you make your claim and stand your ground with love, as, say, a war erupts outside of you or inside of you, or somebody's challenging, somebody, steals your car or makes a real dent in your level of happiness in whatever way, that you don't hold on to the anger or the grief, that you move through it and you understand that the Kundalini is testing you, and that where that door closes, a window somewhere else is opening up, and you just need to find that window and partake of the gift that flows through that window. Okay? Serenity is waiting, and it's calling you into balance. And I'm going to suggest that you respond to that call. And your Kundalini will light the way, even through the brutality of negative forces. And it will consistently guide you into your enlightenment. Just as Josephine described, in her dream, you have a really, really tall guy, which usually indicates an entity that's trying to be more than it is, basically a facade. And opening its arms like it's going to embrace you, which is the lie, and then telling you the truth as you get closer. I'm really mad at you. Boom! You make the decision and you walk away. You don't cuss at them. You don't give them a dirty look. You just turn around and go the other direction. So I'm going to suggest that you just turn around and you go the other direction when you are also being confronted with the opportunity to participate in a negative or hurtful interaction with entities, whether they're in the body or not. Now, I'm going to give out the phone number for you. It's 347-934-0026. That's the number where you can call in, and you can ask a question, or you can relate an experience that you've had. You know, lift a finger and call in and let people know that you have indeed, experienced these types of challenges. And I'm going to bring Her Holiness on here. Hello, Amelia, wake up, wake up, wake up. There you
I'm
are.
awake, Chrism.
Can you relate to a little bit of what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I can. I mean, you're talking about the cause and effect. You're talking there. I mean, once I began to understand that, it made a huge difference to me. You're speaking there, about kindness, about, choosing kindness or choosing the ethical. Sometimes it's not as simple. Well, it hasn't been for me maybe as simple or as black and white as that in terms of, do no harm or do harm. That choice. I mean, I suppose what I'm saying is sometimes entities can come as thoughts or, trying to undermine things like the surrender that you're giving to Kundalini. They can try to, boost ego's control. I mean, that has happened for me where I struggle.
Through the use of fear, right?
Yeah, exactly. But once what you're saying there, and this is what occurs to me, once I began to understand that this was, really an opportunity for refinement through that stress that was being provided really by the Kundalini, Chrism, because the Kundalini allows this, doesn't it? Am I right?
Yes, it allows
it.
You have to be given the opportunity to make the right choice. And so the wrong choice must also be offered.
Yes. I mean, that is quite amazing, because once I began to realize that this is what was unfolding and being provided for me, well, then that made it an absolutely huge difference to me. I mean, even things like, sometimes entities will bring up past emotions, things like that, get into your head, will try and, once you begin to understand what you're teaching us today, which I have heard you speak about before and which you have taught to me, it makes all the difference in the world, because then you can choose, you have a choice.
Yeah, now Starloon writes a good question on the chat group. They, I don't know if it's she or not. May I ask a question here? Do I need to believe in actual entities? With Kundalini, about 65% of the people will actually be able to discern consciousness that is typically hidden behind the veil of forgetfulness and of blindness that most of the world operates within. Okay, and so whether or not you believe in the entities, now if you're seeing entities or the entities come to you, then if you are inside of a Kundalini awakening scenario, then I don't know who MJ is. So I understand Starloon is MJ, but MJ doesn't mean anything to me. It's really nice initials, I'm sure. I don't know who that is. So, I don't know. MJ, blessings to you, and thank you for writing that excellent question. So yeah, if until you begin to experience entities, then it's going to be a real stretch for people to understand that it's a real thing. Entities don't really need you to believe in them or not. They know the effect that they can have on how you think. They know the effect on pushing just a little fear into this person makes them make this decision, which has a domino effect upon how they live their life. And, how you live your life is basically where you sculpt your level of enjoyment from your life, your level of blessings that you're able to share with others in your life. And so, a little bit of negative advice or a little bit of a corruption into your process may go a very, very, very long way. But until you actually interact with an entity or you see an entity, it'll be difficult, MJ, for you to be able to conceptualize it as a definite reality. And I know there's a lot of advice in the New Age world. Oh, we're all one, right? So we're one with the entities. We're one with this. We're one with that. We're one. Except we're not just one, but we're also dual. We're not a walking, talking singularity completely, because we're also dual. This is the reason why we're here, is to experience a duality-based reality, or we wouldn't be here. Okay? Now, granted, everything is of God, but God has individuated. God has individuated itself so that it can learn about itself and the various different options that a challenging environment such as the physical environment will give to a soul in its developmental forces. And so this is a really strong experience that the soul will give itself to be a human, cut off from all the thousands of natural senses it has, and all the way down to only five senses. Oh, joy, how do I get around doing this? What do I do? And then the whole human equation begins to unroll for it. So whether or not a person believes in entities, the entities are there. They're there, and they are there, and they're willing to corrupt or to give grace. The angels are there too. So we need to understand that it's not all bad things that are out there, but typically the bad things are far more aggressive in their interaction with people. One moment, please. I have to sneeze, and it's going to hold off, so you'll hear me sneeze. Sorry about that. You will be given the opportunity to refine yourself, whether or not you have an entity interaction. When you do have an entity interaction, well, that does change the game for you, because all of a sudden you realize that this is a much bigger aquarium than you've ever been led to believe. And as you understand the immensity of what it is that you are involved with, you will begin to understand that consciousness goes far beyond what the human mind and the human levels of accepted creation is being, given through science. Science is very restricted because, it can only go with what it can prove. And at this point, it doesn't have the mechanical means to prove that an entity exists. And so therefore, entities don't exist for those people who are depending on science to form the parameters of their existence. Okay. Kundalini people typically do not use science as the ultimate way and the only way of defining their existence or defining the reality of their existence. And when you have an entity pop in, well, hello, you see a head come through a wall, or somebody just materializes in front of you, well, then you begin to understand that, this universe is this multiverse is much more populated than I would have thought otherwise. And this begins to expand your interaction, with this world. And Josephine, what kind of experience have you had with entities up to this point, if at all?
Well, mine have been in dreams. One of my biggest dreams was with a huge spider, and it was very black, and it had a red tongue, and I had blood on me, and the only thing I could see was it, and just lay there and it licked blood off of me. I don't know where it was. It was on my head. Yeah,
What?
it supposedly fell off the bed, which, yeah, I don't know how that happened. But then that was the end of it. And then it walked away. But it was very, very large.
And how did you respond to that? What was the teaching for you as you had that experience?
Well, since I'm kind of new at this, I was looking at the spider from a scientific point of view, like how big are your legs, since your head seems to be bigger than my head.
So this was a spider that you saw, a giant spider?
Yes, very black and big legs, and I was underneath it.
And so you could see the hair on its legs. I mean, you could see everything?
Everything, and its eyes were glossy black. Very close with this spider, but didn't hurt me at all, and I just looked and examined to see how big this spider was.
And it would have been how big in real life?
Take my body, put it in a ball, and that was the head, not even counting the body of the spider.
So as big as a couch, a normal sized couch, or?
It would fit on an 8x10 rug.
Oh, wow. 8x10, that's a pretty big spider. You know, and of course the spider is a Kunalini creature, and so, you know, basically the Kunalini was showing Josephine its immensity, its size, its level of import in her life, and she was forced to overcome her fear. So this was, in a way, a very, very good teaching for Josephine to have. You know, and it licked some blood off of her body, and basically, you know, that's basically showing that your blood is my blood is your blood. It is an exchange of energy, and what a beautiful thing. And you know, she's been seeing spiders all over the place here at the ashram, and don't get the idea that, you know, this whole place is filled with cobwebs and everything like that. It's not. It's actually, you know, Francine went around the house, you know, getting rid of all the cobwebs before Josephine even arrived. So we're not. She didn't have that many to get rid of either. I'm looking around the room right now, and it's not so cobwebby. But yeah, and you know, we're having a bit of a side conversation here on the whole idea of entities. Do I have to basically a person is asking if I haven't seen entities, do I have to believe they exist? No, you don't have to believe they exist. You can find other means of appropriating certain levels of teachings from the Kundalini. But I would also offer you the equation that as above, so it is below. And below we have many, many, many different creatures of grace here. Every level of bacterium and virus, all the way up to the multi-celled organisms like an insect or an amphibian or a mammal or a fish or a bird, or, you know, on up the ladder. There are plenty of different kinds of creation on this world, and as above, so below, and so below as above. Okay, so I would like to steer people in their understandings that just because you don't see something yet doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, and that you may indeed, within a Kundalini context, begin to perceive these things, and even if they go against science, and even if the MDs may be saying, oh, that you can't see that means you're schizophrenic or you're bipolar, and here, let me give you this chemical. You know, just because it doesn't adhere to given scientific modalities of understanding doesn't mean that it's not real. It just means that science can't measure it yet. Science doesn't see it yet, and they've got a really easy thing that gets them off the hook and just say, oh, you're just schizophrenic. Here, have a drug. Okay? So there you go. I was just like, sorry, Chrism. I didn't see. I got to back you up a little bit here. Something about giant candy bars. Well, that would be an entity. Giant candy bars smothering you. Oh yeah, that would be an entity, definitely. So, just so everybody else can, Starloon is talking about. When I was a kid, I used to dream of giant candy bars out to smother me, but I don't call that entities. Well, yeah, I mean, I understand you can call it giant candy bars that are out smothering me, but they definitely have an intention. And typical candy bars don't have that kind of intention. So you might want to take that leap that within your dream life, you're being communicated with, through symbols that represent what other people may be able to see as entities. And, I'm not buying in the whole nuts thing anyway. Just like Josephine, Josephine comes right out. She says, well, most of my entity contact is in my dream life. Well, hello, Starloon. Giant candy bars out to smother you. Basically, you're being told not to eat so many candy bars. Not to eat so much sugar, because that can smother your pancreas. Okay? With a little knowledge, you can go a long, long ways. And then, of course, we have the many, many different dream teachings that come to us, certainly within a Kundalini context. But the positive ones come there too. You get the bliss. The bliss is a real sensation. The bliss is a real deal, especially as you pass a fear test. So as Josephine, a giant spider is sitting on her, lapping up some blood off of her chest and turning its thorax around so she can really get the idea of the size, all the way down to the hair on the legs. Joy, so she's really getting it. But Amelia and I experienced the giant spider in Tombstone, Arizona, and it was indeed, as large, as Josephine's spider, and yet it blocked the doorway for the demons or the negative entities that were wandering the streets of Tombstone, which they still do, by the way. But it kept those from coming in. That's a real positive thing. Now, it just so happened that, we went to Tombstone, Arizona, looking for Tombstone, Arizona. We didn't realize that the highway really, kind of isn't representative of Tombstone, Arizona. And, we finally found our way back into the actual Tombstone, Arizona, and the only motel open was the most haunted place in the city of Tombstone. And, it was one of the only original structures that remained from the 1880s period of Tombstone, when all those deaths and all those major refinement programs were initiated for so many people there. And there's a lot of entities in Tombstone, Arizona. And the Shakti Kundalini from Amelia, not so much from me, because, I'm not really there to get tested in so many different ways, but certainly Amelia was, and she had a lot of really cool phenomena, watching her hand dematerialize and watching all the different sparkles and all the different phenomena that can occur within the Kundalini, but most importantly, seeing the huge spider at the door as, negative entities tried to get in, and just seeing them not able to do it. How cool is that? So the first thing, you got to get over that whole fear of the giant spider, which is not the easiest thing for any of us that watch The Lord of the Rings. Frodo is like basically, at war with that giant spider. It scares a lot of people, the same way the serpents in the Kundalini will scare a lot of people. And so we have to get over our fear of the natural environment, and we have to reinforce our understanding that Kundalini comes to us often through representatives of the natural environment. A tiger, a spider, a serpent, a praying mantis, an eagle, a whale, a shark, all these different top of the line or top of the pyramid predators These are Kundalini animals. A bear, a dog with glowing red eyes. People see that over and over again. And so the scenario is you need to begin to look at nature in a different way. And as you begin to look at nature as a source of knowledge and information from the Kundalini, it begins to have an effect on how much you fall into fear. Fear is one of the big stumbling blocks, and it's one of the first primary stumbling blocks that will be used as a way to further your evolution within the Kundalini. Okay, fear is the great modulator. Fear is what allows you to go forward or not. Okay, if you can overcome your fear, then you will overcome a lot of the negative impulses that are being directed your way through the entities or whatever you want to call them. Okay, if it's easier within a New Age context to say, well, yes, it's the forces of challenge. Sorry, I get that New Age voice going on in me here. It becomes very light and very airy and very, wanting to avoid any kind of a challenging situation. Floating hearts and teddy bears. So, hey, among the floating hearts and the teddy bears, that's fine. If that's the way you want to see it, if that's what makes it comfortable for you, then fine. See it that way. Go with it that way, and learn the teachings that you're being given from the floating hearts and the teddy bears. It's fine. It's fine. It works. But the scenario really, if the Kundalini decides to open your third eye or open your awareness to a degree that allows you to perceive other levels of non-corporeal consciousness, then you'll come in contact with things that children see, or things that the animals will see. If you watch a cat tracking an entity across the room, well, if you're able to see the entity, you're able to see what the cat sees, and both of you can track the same entity across the room. Lasha does that a lot. She's an entity tracker. So understand that and realize that, and know that fear really is that main stumbling block. Once you get over your fear, you're rewarded by a lot of bliss, a lot of love, a lot of a level of love and bliss that just is ecstatic, really, in its expression. And this ecstasy isn't the same kind of ecstasy as you have, with the sexual act. This is worse. This is much more powerful, and it's much more. It's far longer lasting. And I've seen people going into ecstasy for a matter of weeks. This isn't the high ecstatic that can kill you. This is a lower form of ecstasy. There are levels of ecstasy just like there's levels of bliss. And these levels of ecstasy, the lower levels you can survive for a period of time. The higher levels, it's got to be very, very short. Very, very short. Or you just, your physical, mental situation, say within the early transformations of the Kundalini, are not strong enough to handle high-level ecstasy yet. It can do a lot of damage. It's so strong. It's really the only reason it's not out there to hurt you. It's so strong that the divine within you will modulate how much of that you can have based upon the current makeup of your energetic anatomy and its relationship to the 5 bodies of expression, but also where you're going with it and where high levels of ecstasy will push your equation as you experience it. Now, if you have any questions about this or any of the other subjects that we cover here in this conversation, feel free to call 347-934-0026. And I see, a lot of people choose not to relate to fear, choose not to recognize fear, as they like to take the sting out of it by choosing not to see it in a way that that is of a negative quality, and that's fine. If that works for the person, that's fine. You know, I've got no problem with that. There are many, many pathways up the mountain, and if putting blinders on with regards to the effects or the actual existence of fear, that's fine. Put those blinders on, and you know, but eventually you'll be given opportunities to experience a greater view of the many different energies that are involved in giving us the evolution into grace. And one of those things is to get over our fear of the unknown. Our fear of the unknown, our fear, you know, is as a primal source of activation of evolution within us. Okay, as we fear something and we get over that fear, no longer do we call or attract its frequency within us. We're able to move on to, say, a different fear, another fear. We're able to basically cleanse our inner environment, our inner thought structures, our inner dialogue away from, say, a fear-based paradigm and into a paradigm that is far more balanced with regards to what it is that is actually calling the shots in our life. And for us within the Kundalini, that is the Kundalini. The Kundalini will do that. So call us up if you have any kind of a question or any kind of a scenario that you would like to discuss with regards to your Kundalini awakening experience. And I know that there are other people that are listening on their computers outside of the chat room, and I'd like to say hello to you right now. For those of our friends who are sleeping, I would like to begin as I've done in other programs, and I'll offer this prayer of unblocking you, my dear, sweet, dreaming friends, from any kind of obstacle that would keep you from discerning levels of information from your Kundalini to you. And here we go. Ganum Tvam Ganapatya Vamahe Kavinu Pamashabastamo Jeshtarajam Ramina Maspata Anaha Nasimbanu TBC de Saranam. Sleep, my friends, sleep. Receive the information that your Kunalini is giving to you. Open yourself to the love, to the grace, to the beauty that is within you, that is expressing within you, and receive the teachings of the Kundalini with all the grace that you currently have. Blessings to you all. And as we continue our conversation, I see that, MJ-Starloon, she says, they say, I fear the joy, ecstasy, bliss because I've been stopped. Well, just because you've been stopped from receiving joy, ecstasy, and bliss doesn't mean that you need to fear it. And besides, I thought you didn't really recognize, you just don't fear the entities, but you can fear the joy, ecstasy, bliss. Well, okay, kind of like fearing a handshake, but maybe you would prosper by just changing your perspective about what joy, ecstasy, and bliss has to stop, and look at what it is that has stopped you. Look at what it is that has stopped you from having that joy or ecstasy and bliss. What did you say? It's fear. So fear has stopped you from doing that, and so there's a quality of fear that you could do some work to remove from your equation, so that you may indeed be able to experience and appreciate the different levels of joy, ecstasy, and bliss that the Kundalini offers in copious amounts. Oh my gosh. People stopped you. Well, there you go. People stopped you. And I know another person who lives here in Santa Rosa, and she had a Kundalini awakening, and she was in ecstasy for about 2 weeks, and her friends got together. And decided, we'll just call her Julie. No, sorry, Julie. We'll just call her Vera. And the friends of Vera got together and said amongst themselves, "Wow, Vera's really, God, she's too happy. No, this is just not right. She's too happy. She's enjoying herself far more than it's just not natural. I think we need to do an intervention." And so they intervened on her and threw her into a psych ward, where she remained for a few weeks until they drugged the bliss and the ecstasy out of her. And so, yeah, I can see how people would get in the way, but it's good to realize that now you don't need to tell anybody that you're having the ecstasy, and I advise you not to. Once again, science does not accept what it is we all experience here within the Kundalini awakening world. Until they get a machine that can, okay, we've got Shakti positive 1%, we've got Shiva positive 1%. Well, we have a balanced equation in this Kundalini equation, and therefore we don't need to give them drugs. Except, of course, the pharmaceutical giants want us to be addicted to their drugs, and so they'll stick to the line that Kundalini doesn't exist, just so they can administer drugs for the spiritual emergency, as they like to call it. So, don't tell anybody that you're having this. Don't tell it. Don't tell your family. Don't tell your friends. Just have it. You can tell your cat or your dog or your pet spider, Josephine's pet spider. You can tell those folks because they'll keep your secret. They'll honor, and they'll let you to continue to have it without being thrown into a psych ward. Okay. The thing is this bliss can come so strong, and you just want to share it with everybody. It lights you on fire, and it just makes you want to share and share and share and share. Oh my God, you have so much bliss. It's just like, how on earth can you keep this into yourself and not want to spread it to everywhere? And that's a big challenge. One of the reasons I even started teaching was because I wanted people to partake of the bliss and to partake of the wonderful, beautiful experiences I was having then versus what I had getting to that point, which was, all the difficulties in the world you can imagine. So I understand, but you just have to pull back. You have to thank the divinity within you for the grace that is coming, and just let it lighten up your entire being, and then without saying anything, nobody can say, Chrism's just way too happy. That's just unnatural. They'll just feel happy when they're ever standing next to you or around you, as will everything else in the environment. Feel that level of radiance and grace falling upon them. Okay? Let's see. Yes. I'm going to read Amelia's teaching here. Sometimes we are given joy. This is from Amelia Santara. Sometimes we're given joy and bliss, so we know of it. Once that is experienced, it can never, ever be forgotten. Its imprint is upon you. You can let go of fear again, LOL, and close that big mouth, LOL. You don't have to tell anybody. And once the bliss does come to you, you can realize that it is, it is there for very, very positive and beautiful purposes. And Starlin says, that's why I landed here for instruction. Well, your Kundalini basically is giving you all the instruction that you need. And it has brought you here. And your questions and the things that you're writing here, Starloon, are helping many other people now and in the future. So thank you for asking these great questions. Yeah. Now, I would like to bring this over to Josephine again and to ask her experience with bliss or with ecstasy.
every day is a new day, as they say, but going to work and seeing the work I do, I have happiness there.
And without going into it, what kind of work do you do? Do you deal with people? I mean, what do you do?
I deal with babies.
Oh.
Mainly.
Oh, okay. So you work with a lot of children. And yeah, children are a wonderful vector of unadulterated joy and ecstasy. I mean, they see you through eyes that are so honest and so truthful and so clear and so pure that the joy and the happiness that they give out through that purity can be very strong. Have you experienced that?
Yes.
Well, I think that is a wonderful, wonderful way to experience joy and to some degree ecstasy. Children, babies, infants, before they've been corrupted with our assumptions of what morality and ethics are, they just come at it pure. But so do their animal natures come out pure as well, and it's the animal natures within them that the Kunalini will want to temper. And so once again, I'm going to give you the phone number if you'd like to participate in this conversation. The number is 347-934-0026 if you'd like to come in and talk with me about any of these subjects. So, good and evil and the Kundalini. The Kundalini uses the ideas of good and evil in order to manifest evolution within us. If we choose evil, we're going to be dealing with the karmic responsibility that comes with choosing evil. If we choose goodness, that's the way to go. If you look at it, if you look at this world and the way this world is set up, it's all about power distribution. The plants take energy, prana, sunlight from the soil and from the solar activities. They take minerals, they take water, they take sustenance from the environment that is given through the elementals, the elemental environment, earth, air, water, fire, those types of scenarios. And as the plants grow, other animals come and they grow within the plants. They eat the plants, they partake of that, and then they in turn are feasted upon by another set of animals, and so on and so on and so forth. And so are we given from that perspective to understand that when we awaken the Kundalini, so are we also being consumed by divinity. We are being consumed by that which is nurturing us, by that which is holding us, by that which is helping us into a new level of understanding. And the expressions of love and grace and divinity that come from us during that evolutionary period form the sustenance for those areas of divine expression that we have yet to even be aware of. There is intelligence in the atmosphere of this world that will consume levels of love, will consume levels of any of the different many levels of love that are given in the society, and will generate reasons for those foods to be given into the higher elemental vibrations of the atmosphere of this world. There's a book you can read called Journeys Out of the Body, called by Robert Monroe, and just look up Loosh, Loosh, and it's an interesting parable with regards to energetic distribution between the dimensions and with the idea of love. You might want to check that out. If anybody has a question, call 347-934-0026, and I'm going to go to Her Holiness here. Amelia, you're still awake, right? You're not sleeping?
Still awake. Yes, cousin.
Tell
I'm
me,
here. Can you?
How have you manifested your teachings that the Kunalini has given you with regards to energetic distribution?
I have no idea. That's one of those. I'm not even going to attempt to answer that one. It's since you've been talking about bliss and you spoke with Josephine and since MJ brought up about bliss and I was thinking, you know, about bliss and what that has been for me. And of course, you know, I'm thinking about it being a whole, you know, the whole body and how it feels and how it's contained in the body and yet how the body is actually contained within the bliss, you know, how it's beyond the body. And I was thinking about, you know, walking in the physical world when you're experiencing it and how everything triggers. And so I'm a little bit not present, Chris. Because once I began thinking of that, you know, so I'm beginning to feel elements of it within myself now, you know. Yeah.
Well, here's a great way of testing bliss and those types of things are do something that is immoral, do something that is unethical, and feel what happens to your heart. Feel that level of communication that your Kundalini makes to you as you do something that you know is against its agenda with you. And you'll know the opposite of bliss. You'll know the opposite of following your divine evolution. You'll know how the Kundalini feels about that. And I suggest that any of you that are going to be doing this, that you do it in a very gentle way because you don't want that level of pain all at once if you're doing a real big thing. Okay.
Oh, Chrism, even in terms of honesty, smaller things like white lies, you're going to say something that isn't truth, even by omission sometimes. That can be very painful because Kundalini doesn't want that and doesn't approve of that, and that can be very painful. A lie can be very painful.
Exactly. Lying.
Yeah.
Lying is devaluing truth. And the Kundalini is all about truth. It is all about the truth of who you actually are, what you are, why you are. And, you know, when you devalue or in some way invalidate truth, the Kundalini will respond in a very powerful way. And for some people, it can drop them into a very, very deep depression. A heartbreak is what I can consider it to be like. You feel a piece of your heart just starts to really vibrate with pain, with hurt, with hurt feelings, hurt love, jilted love. I mean, it's just really, really, really a strong vibration. At least that's how it would affect me. I'm sure with other people it'll affect them in different ways. But yeah. If you want to test what it's like to not have the bliss, well then go that way and you'll find out. You'll be able to test it. You know, like and as Amelia suggests, you know, even the little white lies, you know, they're the ones, lying through omission or lying, just lying in general. Sometimes, you know, you have to lie with the Kundalini. You can lie through omission by telling your MD as you're there for your annual, so everything's fine. Oh yeah, everything's nice. You know, and you go home and you have, you know, an hour of Kriyas. You know, you can't tell people everything. But the Kundalini, you know, that is forgiven. It knows the society you live in. It knows the society you live in probably better than you do. And so it realizes that, okay, if she's going to have that MD that doesn't understand Kundalini, then no, that MD cannot know about Kundalini yet. Okay, while this person is in that, you know, still in the paradigm of a society that holds doctors as dear as it holds divinity, well then those doctors who don't know about divinity cannot know about divinity. It would be inappropriate for them to know, because they would make decisions that would, hurt themselves from a karmic nature. So they're not allowed to know. And so, when you lie through omission to your MD, it's not a big deal with the Kundalini. You won't feel that. You may feel a vestige of that pain in the heart, but nothing like if you actually went out and aggressively told a lie just to feel the pain. Okay. And we'll go over here to Rosemary. Oh, yep, there she is. No, we're going to go to Eileen. Eileen, hello.
Hi, I'm here.
What have you felt with regards to the heart and the different levels of pain or joy that you can hold?
I seem to have mostly the pain that's been in the last year. Deep depression. What
would be the genesis of that pain, do you think? Loss of, and I want to say detachment, but before I went into detaching, it was loss taken. Kundalini basically started taking everything from me, which threw me into a depression, and I'm slowly working out of it. What are you learning about yourself as you experience the depression? I'm basically a very negative person, have been, and it's difficult to switch that around. I have, in the last couple of days, I've noticed I'm starting to sing again, which I haven't done in years, actually, since Kundalini came. I used to sing all the time, and now it's starting to come back, and I'm talking to myself, and it just feels really good. Start telling that to your MD.
Yeah, right. No, it's just it has not been easy. I don't have the entities, and I don't have some of the severe symptoms that many people have. Mine have been mostly just more emotional and physical too.
Yeah.
But I want to say this because it just happened recently. In the last 2 years, I had surgery on my knee, and I've been so concerned about falling, and I did fall a couple of days ago. And what was interesting, I didn't go to my knees as I normally do. I went from standing up to flat on my face, and did injure my hand a bit, but it's coming out of it so quickly. It's not. I remember when Amelia had she hurt her hand, and actually the Kundalini healed it. I feel that's happening with me, and
that's very, very cool. That's very nice.
Yeah,
and nothing like that to give you some validation, huh?
Oh, definitely. And it's not that I'm just sitting here not doing anything. I'm exercising it slowly and asking for healing from Shakti, but it wouldn't have happened before. I guess I would have. And for me, this is part of my process. I really didn't get that upset about it happening. I was more upset with myself for being so clumsy. But things are going to happen, and they get worked through. And I feel really good about it. So anyway, I don't know if I answered your question.
No. As you should feel good about that. I mean, I think that's great. That's a wonderful answer. And I think that anybody that's listening to you can hear that even though your ego on the one hand says, oh, gosh, like Eeyore in Winnie the Pooh, it's like, oh, gosh, nothing ever happens to me. But yet, on the other hand, the Kunalini is speaking up inside you and going, oh, yeah, well, what about healing that face plant the other day?
Yeah.
So there you go. I hope you
One other thing I just want to mention, Chrism, people talk a lot about their phenomena and their events, and not everyone has those. I mean, I have not. Now, maybe it's coming down the line, but for right now, and trying to be okay with that.
Your ego's talking again. It's like, I haven't had any phenomena. Oh, but I'm being healed of that fall.
No, I'm talking about bells and whistles and things like that. Mine is more, my hand. What?
Healing a faceplant.
I didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
Healing a faceplant. It's when you fall on your face. It's called a faceplant.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually did hit my face, and it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
So that what I'm saying is, it's not all bells and whistles and entities and kriyas. It's not all that. It's, it can be a different type of event or phenomena. Like in my case, a lot of healing. So I just want to.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. No. And I will echo that. I mean, and thank you, Eileen. She's absolutely correct. It isn't. Not everybody shares the same phenomena. For somebody like, say, in Eileen's scenario, she needs to do more internal work of a self-disciplined, type of expression, and whereas other people, they have come into the entity stage or the kriya stage, and the kriyas happen to you whether you like it or not. The entities will also happen to you whether you like it or not, whether you believe in it or not. They will come to you and they will distribute whatever message the Kundalini wants them to distribute to you. And, you can either expand your horizons or not. I mean, once again, it's up to you. Once again, I counsel people not to engage with entities. I don't care if you see them or not, but just don't talk to them. Don't do anything they tell you to do, even if it seems right, because there's always a level of corruption within entities that are there to, they're not necessarily the greatest evolutionary tool. If you follow their instruction, they're not a very good evolutionary tool. If you don't follow their instruction and you follow the Kundalini's instruction, which, that is your best evolutionary tool that you could do, would be to listen and surrender yourself to the Kundalini. Now, in the 27 minutes that we have left, I would like to say something about the seminar in Minnesota. Seminars are very special. It's very rare that people in a Kundalini awakening environment can come together. It's very, very rare. And I know these days, you're looking at some of these oneness things that you get on the internet, and, it's this couple sitting on some throne in India thinking that they're giving people a oneness blessing and all of this stuff. And it's just so much of, shall we say, it's challenging information with regards to its truth. So, I know that, and you got another guy out there that, he's a good-looking Indian guy, and so that attracts a lot of the libido-oriented people. And they're calling themselves swamis, and they're calling themselves Kundalini awakened, and all of this stuff. And so there's a lot of disinformation out on the internet right now about what it is to have Kundalini. Well, those of us who actually have it and are expressing it and are going through the many different phenomena, signposts, experiences, feelings, dream life, that it all coalesces into a Kundalini equation. We know that we don't need, some Swami to, lay their hands on us or do whatever. We don't need to listen to an outside force, even a Chrism. You don't need to listen to a Chrism to tell you that you have the Kundalini. The Kundalini basically will let you know in no uncertain terms. Okay. Now, if the Kundalini hasn't let you know and yet you're still having the phenomenon, well, that means it wants you to reach out into certain areas to get specific information, and it will guide you to these areas of information. And many people are guided to the levels of information that are offered on Facebook. And so we have a Kundalini Awakening ! Facebook groups. So Kundalini Awakening ! On Facebook. We also have Kundalini Awakening Systems 2 on Facebook. These are open groups. Anybody can join. If you send me a PM at Chrism.com, Chris Mitchell, I think is what it is on Facebook. Yeah. You can PM me, and you can, which means private mail me, and you can let me know that you want to sign up. You heard the radio program. You want to sign up for any of these groups, and you can join these groups. On the Yahoo network, you can go to a group in Yahoo Groups called Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at yahoogroups.com. There's also Kundalini Healing at Yahoo Groups. You'll also see a Tantra group there. And I haven't been teaching Tantra so much because I find the levels of maturity within the West are a bit more challenged when it comes to dealing with anything of a sexual nature. And so I have a lot of Tantra I could teach, but, it's not the kind that you see out there, the sugar-coated fairy wings, non-fluidic Tantra. My Tantra is the real Tantra. It's the real deal. It's the blending of the physical Shakti, the physical Shiva, and the eye lock and all of the different locks. And so I found that it's best for the other Kundalini teachings that I pull back from the Tantra teachings. And so there you have that. On the YouTube network, you can go to chrism.kundalini or just, Chrism, the number 0/ through it, and then Kundalini, and that will bring you to about 304 videos, I think, or somewhere around there, maybe 300 videos there, and you can participate in watching those videos. You can comment on some of them, all of the stuff. So I'm also on Google Plus at Kundalini Awakening, ! I believe. And then, of course, there are various blogs, Kundalini, or Ascension Kundalini at blogspot.blogspot.org. What was that, Amelia? Come on, get in the red. There you are.
Okay, www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com.
.blogspot.com. So you can go there, and there are a bunch of other blogs that are associated with that blog as well. A Dark Night Soul blog, a Chrism Shaktipad blog. I mean, I have 5 blogs out there. And so you can get a lot of information from any of these groups in any of these areas, and I want to invite you to do that. And take the information that you receive from these broadcasts, and a lot of people are going to disagree with Chrism. Absolutely, they're going to disagree with that because it doesn't jive with either the agenda that they're carrying or the experiences that they've had. But you'll find that there's a certain level of person that has had the Kundalini to such a degree that they cannot deny the truthfulness of the information that is given. They cannot deny it. And they won't. But for those who are doing, like Kundalini Reiki or Kundalini Yoga or Sahaja Yoga or Sahaja Kundalini, these people, unless you do it their way, it's not real. Unless you do it their way and you give yourself to their leader or their teacher, whatever, then it's not real. And I want you to be kind of wary of these types of folks because they are giving out a disinformation. And Kundalini is within you, and it doesn't need their leader to activate it within you. It can activate itself all by itself. Look at the level of information that you're guided to come into. And if it includes the safeties or it includes anything that I'm saying, then you have the ability to self-realize already. And I will help you with that. I will give you Shaktipat. Even though I give you a Shaktipat, I make you earn it by the practice of the safeties. And so therefore you own it. You own your activation. You are self self-realized. Make sure you understand that. Okay, when you work with me, we are working towards self-realization. You know, I've given many Shaktipots, helped many people into the Kundalini, but they're all doing it vis-a-vis the safeties. And what are the safeties? Well, the safeties are on, KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.com. You come down, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the fifth option down on the menu there. And you press on the safeties and you read those safeties. But here's the thing, I'm not going to twist your arm practicing those safeties. You have to twist your own arm. That's the self part. As you self-discipline yourself to practice those safeties daily, and, as much as you can, then you are initiating a self-controlled enlightenment equation, and you become self-realized, even though I'm giving you some help. The safeties make the difference. You practice those safeties. You receive Kundalini either from my Shaktipat or from the safeties practice themselves. You are self-realized and you own your activation. You and your Kundalini. No middleman or woman. You own it. It's for you to have and to hold. And it's for it to have you and to hold you. Okay? And I'll give you Shaktipat, as much as you want, but it's the Kundalini in me that even wrote the safeties. That force wrote the safeties. So it's all about self-realization, which is why it harmonizes so well with Yogananda's teaching and their self-realization fellowship. I don't follow a lot of what Yogananda, makes people do. I'm not having Josephine here become a Kundalini nun, nor am I having Eileen or Amelia, which would be totally silly to have Amelia become a nun. I mean, think about it. The Celtic queen of questionable comforts, all of a sudden being changed into a nun? so yeah. You can see how that wouldn't work. But so the scenario is you are being self-realized, even as you go through the good and evil aspects of what the Kundalini brings into your equation, or what we recognize as being good or evil, which is basically, do we practice goodness and loving intentions upon other people, or are we out there to corrupt them and to steal from them and take advantage of them and, kill them just because we want the land, like they're doing in Ukraine right now. We want the land. Here, let's just kill everybody on it. That's a balkanization of the Ukraine, and we need to be aware of that in the other countries that around the world. It's no different from what China is doing to Tibet right now. It's just that we're so used to China invading Tibet that it's okay. We become inured to it. Well, I haven't become inured to it. Neither is my Kundalini, and it sees it for exactly what it is, a theft. A theft. Okay, and it's no different with what Russia's doing to Ukraine right now. Now, if you look in the natural world, when you see a bald eagle steal a fish from an osprey, which they do, that is also a theft. And the osprey is not big enough to defend itself against the eagle. So what is nature telling us? What is nature telling us in that example? What is nature telling us when hyenas will come in on a jaguar's kill and basically force the jaguar away and take that kill? Well, what I'm being told that it tells us is that you must be strong enough to protect your beliefs. You must be strong enough to protect your home. Don't be afraid to protect who you are and those loved ones around you. And sometimes by protecting them, we need to walk away from the problem. we need to walk away from it. Or we'll be forced to walk away. Well, we will be killed. Things can change. Things can change. Look at what happened in the Balkan Wars. Serbia was the big monster. Croatia was the actual big monster. And those two monsters got together to fight each other on somebody else's land, which is called Bosnia-Herzegovina. I hope I pronounced that right. Okay? But that got changed, didn't it? Other forces came in and changed the game. So stay alive and live to change the game, rather than force yourself into violence, which may not be so fruitful. Think about it. Think about this. And if you would like to participate in this conversation, we have 13 minutes left, and the number is 347-934-0026. And Starloon is telling us that Kundalini told me of energy healing long before it was common. Well, there you go. There you go. Kundalini will give you advice and information that is far beyond what the current levels of information out there will give. Remember, over 95% of the population is asleep. I go into these areas, like I'll be going into Minnesota, and everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people in Minnesota, hey, they're happy. They're happy with Jesus and the way, the King James Bible, and they're happy with all these things. They don't really want to change. They're very complacent in their belief system and their structure. They're very complacent, and they don't want to change. Why? Why change if you're happy with how things are? Okay. Those people who are so complacent, they won't come to hear me. They won't come to participate in the Kundalini because they're happy with where they are. Okay. And so, it'll take a real kick in their complacency before they ever want to change, before they ever want to evolve. And this is fine. I am speaking to those who have already had their complacency challenged, who have from the get-go have known that this isn't quite, where they expected to be at this time. They want change. They're willing to change. They're good with change. These are the folks that I'm talking with even now on this radio show, this BlogTalk radio broadcast. We're talking to those folks who know that there is more, who are not so complacent with their change or with the speed of their change. And bringing Her Holiness back in on here. Yes, Mother Superior Rosemary, how are you?
I'm fine.
So you're the one that told me that they're happy in Minnesota with
recognize that. That's true. I mean,
yes.
They'll just say, "Oh, I just love my relationship with my church," and what's difficult is that the Kundalini actually, that experience, all this would enrich all of that and deepen it.
Yeah.
But and I've had two different experiences about religion, and the one was not from this state, but it could very well have been. So I talked about Kundalini one week, and I may have shared this before, but this gal was listening, and she said, "Oh, no, it sounds like religion to me," so she didn't want any part of it. And then a week later, I'm talking to somebody else, a couple people, and they're from other states, so it wasn't religion enough for them. I wasn't using the words that they connected to their deity, and therefore it wasn't of God.
Right.
So it was quite a learning experience for me.
So we're really reaching out to those who are being kind of guided by the Kundalini to come.
Yes.
And so, once again, this really speaks well for these seminars because they bring about a small population of really, really powerful individuals that are helping each other within their own self-realization. And so it's a very beautiful, beautiful thing. And I would like to announce right here that a very powerful healer will be coming to the seminar. Her name is Josephine Smith. She's right here. And she will be at the seminar. She is flying into the seminar from California. As of course, you know, you'll meet Amelia and Eileen. I'm sorry, Rosemary and Eileen. I wish it was Amelia, but you know, we'll schedule another time for you to meet Amelia. Okay, and so for those of you that are listening to this broadcast in the future, in the archives, or for those of you that are listening on your computer now and you're kind of outside of the chat room, consider it. Consider it. It is a very positive, amazingly beneficial event to partake of, and come to these seminars. Come to them. They are not like anything else that you're understanding about on the web. This is not the same. They are not the same. I have not had one seminar that is exactly the same as the other. Okay, the seminars, I mean, are quite different, and I'm going to bring Amelia on here, and she can talk about that a little bit, I think. Your Highness? Maybe?
Yes, indeed. Yes, every seminar is different. We have had seminars in Ireland. We have had 3 now, I think. We had one last October, one in March, and a few previous to that, and every single one of them have been different. This is because, you know, everybody who comes is different. And the Kundalini in Chrism, the Kundalini gives to the people that are in the seminar what is needed. And so it's quite amazing, because I've attended a lot of seminars now, and each one of them is unique. Each one of them is very, very special. So if you're in a position to go to Minnesota, please consider it. If you're even considering it, it probably means that your Kundalini is, you know, communicating to you. And so pause and think about how can you do this and find a way to do it, because as Chrism said earlier, you know, the opportunity to meet with other people who have Kundalini awakened is not, it's just not commonplace. I mean, I'm living here in Ireland. I meet nobody. I know nobody. Everybody who tunes in, Julie, you know, Fashchi, all the other people that are in the chat room and around, very few people, if any, know of other Kundalini people in their everyday life. And so to actually meet with other people in the flesh and the physical for a weekend like that, and to meet with, in the context of a group with Chrism there, it's a grace-filled experience. So without a doubt, please do yourself a favor and go if you can. And there's a question here from MJ, do you ever come to Boston? That's a possibility. You know, there will be another seminar again at some stage on the East Coast, so who knows. But for now, it's a short flight there from Boston over to Minnesota, MJ, so perhaps consider it. Because that's what's happening this year in 2014. Boston mightn't happen for another year or even longer. So this opportunity is there for you and for everybody. And, you know, it's really worth taking. So please, I would encourage all of you to really consider it. I would love to be coming, but I'm not on this occasion. So, yeah.
No,
Sinead, that's it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank Amelia Centara and John O'Connor, the O'Connor clan of County Cork in Ireland, although John is from the Kingdom of Kerry. The king and the queen have coalesced to live in the County Cork area right now. And so I'd like to thank the two of you and your family for supporting this broadcast, making this broadcast available to the many people who are able to listen to this. I would like to thank Rosemary and Eileen for their ambassadorial duties and the seminar and setting that up. I would like to thank Josephine Smith for her many different areas of support for this program and for what it is we're doing and for visiting me here on this day. What a grace. What a grace it is to have her here with us. I would like to thank you all who have been listening in the chat room. I'd like to thank those of you who are listening in the archives and those of you who are sleeping. May the Kundalini dreams come clearly and consistently to you. And so I would like to give Amelia an opportunity to say good night.
Good night, everybody, and looking forward to seeing you again on our hearing, being with you all again next week. Good night from Ireland. Good night from Cork. Thank you, Chrism. And thank you for the teaching.
Sorry. You're welcome. You're welcome, everybody. Many blessings to you all who are hearing this, and have a beautiful, beautiful night. Good night, darling. Bye-bye.